This place won't be the same without you around. My best friend, Jack O'Brien, smiled at me as we strolled down the long dirt road that would take us from town to our houses. His hands were in the pockets of his dusty trousers, the brim of his cap shading his eyes from the late summer sun. I won't be gone forever. 4 years is a long time. Yeah, it is. He let his elbow brush mine. But you'll be so busy you won't even notice. I laughed half-heartedly. I'm pretty sure I'll notice. He glanced at me, and he started to say something, but then didn't. I was glad, because I had a feeling I knew what he was about to say. You're gonna be married soon. I stared down at the dirt at our feet. I didn't know if I would be or not. Everyone in town had been pushing for me and Daisy Morton to get married, and she always got this hopeful look in her eyes whenever someone mentioned it. Me, I got a funny feeling in the pit of my stomach that a man probably wasn't supposed to get when he thought about marrying the nicest girl in town. We continued through the dusty heat and finally made it to the woods. We both sighed with relief as the road took us out of the bright sunlight and into the shade. Where do you think you'll go? I asked. After college. Jack shrugged, staring at the ground like I'd been doing a moment ago. Wherever there's work, I guess. There wasn't much work in this town. Hadn't been in years. We hadn't even felt the crash in '29 because things had already been tough here. If not for the newspapers, I doubt we would have known about it at all. So all I could hear in Jack's words was, I don't think I'm coming back. As we kept walking, the silence between us as uncomfortable as it was unusual, I couldn't think of what to say, how to tell him I wanted to go with him. There was nothing for me here except my parents' farm, and Lord knew if that would still be standing in a few years. I didn't imagine there was much for me in the city either, but Jack would be there, and that seemed like enough. I didn't say it though. The train would take Jack away tomorrow, and I wouldn't be going with him, and that was final. What did it matter if none of this seemed right? We walked on, and we still didn't talk. The quiet made me itchy. I wasn't used to it, not with Jack. We talked so much, we drove our folks and friends crazy. But ever since we met up at the carnival this morning, things had been different. I couldn't figure out what to say. I couldn't even look at him without getting this ache in my chest. I was afraid to say anything because I was sure all that would come out was, don't leave, or let me come with you. Up ahead on the left was a well-worn trail that went deep into the woods. How many times had we gone tromping down that trail over the years? There were berries you could pick and eat, and a few we'd figured out real quick you shouldn't. And if you followed the trail far enough, there was a swimming hole. Jack told me a while back he'd had his first kiss down there. 10th grade, with Dottie McAllister. My first kiss had been with Daisy a couple of months ago, on a dare in front of all of our friends. I like to think Jack's was more fun than mine. It was hard to believe that time was over. Not the embarrassing first kisses, but our days of jogging down that path, vines whipping at our bare shins and both of us whooping and shouting with our friends before we cannonballed into the swimming hole with the leeches. Betting Jimmy Davenport he couldn't hold his breath longer than I could, tossing in coins and diving to find them, even though the pond was usually too deep and murky, tying ropes to branches and swinging so we could sail through the air before splashing into the water, and still doing it after Bobby Harwood swung too far and broke his arm, smoking stolen cigarettes and drinking stolen liquor and batting away mosquitoes. I would miss those days. Mosquito bites, leeches, broken arms, and all. And more than that, I'd miss the friend who'd been there for all the most amazing adventures. I'd always known there would come a time when we'd drift apart and turn into memories. My dad told stories about his childhood friends, and even if he got a little melancholy now and then, he didn't seem sad that those days were behind him. He had a family, and he had friends here in town, and he seemed happy like that. I'd always known that would be me someday, too. Jack would be someone I talked about with a smile, just like I talked about David Sullivan, who'd moved to the city with his family 5 years ago.